Bienvenidos a su programa de Cabeza. Soy Andrés Roemer. Es un honor tenerlos hoy con nosotros. El día de esta noche tenemos a una de las personas más admirables de la historia de la creatividad. Sin duda alguna, yo soy un big fan de este personaje. Es un director de cine, creador de ópera, documentalista, filósofo. Es un pensador sobre el pensamiento. Es el gran director de cine Werner Herzog, que ha tocado todos los temas, pero es un polímata, es decir, todos los temas a profundidad. Y no hay algo que este señor no toque y que no lo haga grandioso. Ha recibido todos los premios, se ha encontrado en los máximos debates, pero el común denominador, pasión, creatividad, genialidad. Mr. Werner Herzog, it's an honor to have you today with us at Canal 40, Proyecto 40 de Cabeza con Andrés Roemer. It's a really great honor to see you again. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, and thank you seeing you again. I remember wonderful meetings in Puebla a few years ago. So it was so lively, and I'm so glad to be connected with Mexico.
I know, actually, we know you love Mexico, you love Peru. We will talk a little bit about, if you agree with us, a little bit first about your work, and then about your personality, the way you think, your feelings, your emotions, your ideas. We will start from the end, if it is okay for you. If I understood correctly, now you're working in a movie, in a new project about Japan, a very interesting project. Could you share it with us and elaborate about it?
Yeah, well, it's not a project anymore. It has been platform Mubi, M-U-B-I. Mubi has released it a good week ago, and it is called Family Romance LLC, which means, excuse me, there are companies in Japan that rent out family members that are missing. If you are solitary, you can rent a friend for an evening, and you can go out to hit the bars and get drunk and take selfies and put them then on the social media. And I made a film. It's about a man who runs a company which rents out family members. It's about a 12-year-old girl who longs for her father who has been absent. The family, the mother and father, divorced when she was only 1 year old, so she doesn't remember how he looks like. And she feels alone and wants the presence of her father. So the mother secretly hires somebody who pretends to be her father. And she becomes more confident, and it's going all well until the mother falls in love with a rented father. So, and it's crazy stories around it about this. However, it was a feature film. It was all acted, all directed, all scripted, because you cannot make a film, a documentary with a girl and cheating, being an accomplice of cheating a girl, 12-year-old. This is your father, and we all know he's only pretending. It's only a performance of a father. And the film has had big impact. It was actually shown at the Cannes Film Festival last year in the official selection. It made a big impact because we have to ask ourselves, how much are we in our lives performative? Of course, when we speak on camera, we speak differently than we speak over a glass of wine or a good tequila. And so we are different human beings when we are in the football stadium and we cheer on our team. It's very performative. And the big question behind all this, and at the end of my film, Family Romance, the question comes up, could it be that the imposter's family is only a rented family by somebody? Or is our own family rented and placed to be our family? So, but it can be accessed via the streaming platform Mubi. And I have finished yet another film, but I'm very active. I produce more films than ever before.
And how, well, I will ask you later about what have happened that you are being even much more productive and efficient. If that has to do because of the new technologies that you're working with, or only because, or what's the reason?
No, part of it is new technology. I can work much faster and less expensive. With very high caliber digital cameras, you do not need a huge amount of lights and reflectors around. You can shoot with natural light very easily, almost in darkness also. So the tech, and I can edit digitally on my own laptop. And it's not celluloid rolls anymore, and you have to put them in the machine. And so I can almost edit as fast as I'm thinking. But it's something else as well. I have become more fluent. I'm very fluent in what I'm doing. So a screenplay never took me long. I write a screenplay in a week because I see an entire film in front of my eyes as if I was sitting in a theater. So it's the technical side is wonderful for me. It's also good that I can release a film on a streaming platform like Netflix or Mubi. Now my very last film will be shown on Apple, but that will be towards the end of the year.
Wow. Coming back to the film about the romance in Japan, first of all, it provokes me many things. I don't know if it is a sad or a comedy, because I can feel both emotions within it. As you know, in the Roman law, there was a legal position named adrogatio, where a pater familias rented a family and adopted. But the nice thing about what you're talking about is that if I could understand it, I don't know, many centuries ago, 18th century, marriage was actually a kind of an agreement that you want. Yes. But what will be the difference today? What inspired you to make this kind of film? And at the end, what do you want to provoke?
Well, I'm still curious. That's bottom line. And I'm still full of awe about what is going on in the world. And I'm trying to discover and dig deep into the recesses of our human soul. I want to know our human condition. And of course, family romance points to very deep solitudes. You see, Japan has an aging population, and solitudes are very deep. Solitudes are increasing because of the internet, strangely enough. We are more connected, but we are more solitary. I've met, when I did a film on the internet, it's called Lo and Behold, Reveries of the Connected World. I met a 15-year-old teenage girl, and she's not in the film. She was texting all the time, sometimes only a smiley as an answer. And she texted 2,200 messages a day in 24 hours. And I have never seen a teenager, a young person, as deeply, profoundly solitary as she was. So it was catastrophic what the internet can do to us. And of course, solitude is something I could foresee. It's strange because back in the late 70s or 1980 or so, when the first cell phones came up, not the smartphones, but you could make a phone call from the beach, I said, we'll be more connected. And it sounds like a paradox. We will be more solitary. The 21st century, which is 20 years away from us, will become the century of solitudes. And I think we can see it, we can watch it.
Well, actually, when you made Lo and Behold, and you got involved with Silicon Valley, and what happens with the internet, if I remember correctly, you even saw that there were monks, people that have to be in an introspective, only texting. And I was very impressed about what it means to be human today. And my question to you, because I think many people should know, everybody that loves cinema know about Fitzgeraldo and about Aguirre and about your great movies and documentaries, but they don't know that not only you are questioning the relation between human beings and internet and new technologies, but you yourself, could you share with us when was the first time that you actually make a call phone? If you are related with Facebook, I know that you know about Facebook, but what's your relation with Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApps? Because you are an example of what should we have been. Please tell us.
Well, I'm not connected to Facebook, Twitter, and so. But of course, I have a lot of imposters, people who are trying to imitate my voice. People who are posing for me. I have doppelgangers or imposters, maybe 20 different selves. I'm not on all this. And the strangest is, you see, Andrés, I grew up in the mountains of Bavaria, very remote, because I was a refugee in my own country. Bombs fell on Munich. Carpet bombing was happening around us. When I was only 2 weeks old. I was 14 days old. And around us, everything was destroyed. And where we lived, badly damaged. I was in my cradle under 1 foot of glass shards and bricks and debris. But I was unhurt. And my mother got so frightened, she fled with my older brother and me to the mountains. There was nothing, hardly ever electricity, no cinema, no radio, no telephone. I made my first telephone call, my first phone call when I was 17. I was
Very
17.
impressive.
And until today, I do not have a cell phone.
I know, just to have a WhatsApp with you is impossible. And the good thing about that is, as we say in Spanish, tú eres un ejemplo de lo que predicas. I mean, you're an example of what you actually think about. But I mean, I know that in Lo and Behold, actually, if I'm correct, please, if not, let me know, you actually have a chat with Elon Musk. And well, he's in a part of the documentary of his ideas. Can we change our way of being, only being aware of the problem that we're living with, that you're sharing with us in your movie of Japan and and Lo and Behold, and all the books and philosophies that you are writing about this topic? Or it's really like a war that it's impossible to win?
Well, if we are smart enough, if we think what we are doing, then we will always win. And we will be, but we have to stay connected to the real world. And we cannot delegate the experience of the world, the recognition of the world, all this to applications on our cell phones. I give you an example. When I was editing my film, the girlfriend of my editor was visiting us each morning with croissant and espresso. And after 30 times, she frantically calls, she cannot find us. What happened to her GPS went out of order and she could not find us. And it was simple, 5 blocks down and then to the left and then to the right. But for a month, she never looked at the buildings, at the traffic lights, at the street names. She could not find us because she relied on an application of her cell phone. So I say you have to have real experiences in the real world. And much of what we are doing on the internet is performative. When you look at Facebook, I've seen Facebook accounts, it's always embellished. It's always a different representation of self. You make yourself look good, which is fine. It's perfectly okay. But of course, much of it is almost fake. And we have to distinguish between fake news and real news, and we have to find out quickly.
Now that you're talking about fake and real, you have written a manifesto, the Minnesota Manifesto. I don't know if it was called Minnesota because you were a good friend of the former governor,
No,
I'm sorry.
I was not a friend, but I liked some of his statements. Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura was interesting. He was a bodyguard. He was for some time bodyguard of the Rolling Stones, and for some times he was a studio wrestler. He was in Lucha Libre, WrestleMania or something, but very, very intelligent. And he made wonderful statements. He, for example, when he was elected governor, I predicted he would become governor because he was so good with people and connected to them so well. And he made wonderful statements. He said, for example, when he was elected government, everybody said, we have to introduce new legislation. People on snowmobiles in the spring still go out on frozen lakes, but the ice is thin and they break through and they die. We have too many people dead. We have to have legislation. And Jesse Ventura said, there is no legislation against stupidity. And I like him for that. You cannot legislate stupidity. But it means in bigger context, we have to understand the world and we have to be able to make solid judgments. And it's part of what I'm doing is I travel on foot for things that are essentially important for me. And it doesn't matter the distance. I would walk from Los Angeles. I'm sitting here in Los Angeles. I would go from Los Angeles to Oaxaca on foot. Or to San Cristobal. I would go on foot if somebody who was very important for me was dying there, and I would see him or her for the last time. I would come on foot to make a point. And of course, I do read. Reading is something that gets lost. Even in academia, students do not read enough. They do not read enough, and they lose conceptual thinking. They lose bigger narratives. They lose a mood of speech. There was a very interesting case on the internet. Something went viral. It said in a flashy headline, Werner Herzog's letter to his cleaning lady. And it started, Rosalinda woman. And Rosalinda came from El Salvador. And I scold her and I call her names and I tell her I will report you to the authorities and you will be shipped back to El Salvador. Of course, the whole thing was a fraud. It was an invention. And I had hundreds of mails trolling me and saying, you're a criminal, you're terrible. And so, and only number 104 of the comments said, in half a line, you should see that this is satire. It's satire. It's so wild and so over the top. Secondly, you all look at the headline and you do not look more precisely. Under the headline was the name of the author. Werner Herzog's letter to his cleaning name by Scott. Haven't you seen the name of the writer? So, meaning the internet and all this digital existence deprives us and takes us away from making solid judgments. In less than half a line, you know this must be satire. It's so wildly over top. And you should see the author who outs himself.
I have to make you a confession. I mean, I was never a fan of the former governor of Minnesota, Ventura, until I learned from you. And then I read his book, and I learned a different thing of understanding him, thanks to you. The same thing happens to me when you mention that you live in LA. You're a person full of real life. How come you're living in LA? I mean, I don't know. I'm nothing against the people that are watching us from Los Angeles. I have very good friends of them, but it was like me also like an oxymoron, because Werner Herzog, what is he doing there?
Well, Andrés, I have to confess, I'm only here because I'm happily married.
Okay.
25 years ago, and 9 days and 5 hours ago, I met my wife for the first time, and we've ever been together all the time, and it's wonderful and has been good to me. But Los Angeles, don't put down Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is a city with the most substance. You may be alarmed to hear that in the world, I think, in the United States. All the things that have repercussions that change our world come from California or Los Angeles. The internet itself was born in Los Angeles itself, at UCLA. Reusable rockets that Elon Musk builds, SpaceX, are built in the city itself, in the southern parts of the city. Electric cars, the epicenter is here. Mathematics is here. The collective dreams of the world in terms of the film industry of Hollywood is created here. Hollywood is not really my thing, because I'm outside of Hollywood. However, I have connections with them. I do acting for Hollywood movies sometimes, like Mandalorian or Jack Reacher, as a villain, of course, only. So do not underestimate Los Angeles. And all the stupidities come from here. The crazy sects, inline skating, aerobic classes, yoga classes for 5-year-old kids, yoga classes for 5-year-old children. So all the stupidities come from here as well. But things that are important in the world are generated in Los Angeles or in California, with a few exceptions. Muslim fundamentalism comes from Egypt, Yemen, Pakistan, and these countries. And it's important for the world. In a way, it shapes politics, it shapes cultures. But do not underestimate Los Angeles.
Going to another question. I mean, I don't know what's the meaning of life, and I don't know if there is a meaning actually. I'm sure that there is not a meaning for the universe, but for each person could be differently. But what I have seen all the time with you is critical thinking. It's critical thinking, questioning today what the people that before believe in many religions, they are today attached to escape of their own reality through internet and Facebook and networks and whatever. And you have been a strong and a good friend of our friend Richard Dawkins and all this group that have been always questioning things. Could you share and elaborate a little bit about it and relate it with what you mentioned about Ventura, that we have to make stupidity illegal? I mean, it's not by decree, but it's about questioning everything. And how can we share it?
Making it illegal now, of course, stupidity is part of free speech, but it's dangerous. Very often, if it's armed stupidity and empty hearts, then it gets very dangerous, and you see it in politics and in history. But, you probably know that I had a very deeply dramatic religious phase when I was 14, 15, and I converted to become a Catholic. I was not baptized. I come from a family of militant atheists, both mother and father and everybody atheist. But I was the one who had a very deep religious feeling, and I felt like a void when I was an adolescent. But it dwindled away fairly soon, within the next years then. So, but of course, speaking about faith is something I shouldn't go too deep in it, because it's a very personal quest. It has, even though I would say I'm an atheist now, I do respect very, very deeply people who are religious, and religion has done good to many people, and in particular in moments of crisis. And when you look at, for example, resistance against the Nazis, it came from Protestant and Catholic priests and faithful people. So it stabilizes society, it stabilizes life and our lives and societies are deeply troubled and deeply insecure and deeply somehow endangered by coming apart. So there is a reason why, as long as we know about human beings, about Homo sapiens, that there has been religion as well.
These are the kinds of questions that I don't want to ask, but I will ask it to you just to end this program, which I'm very sad, because I really would love to talk with you hours. As we say in Mexico, tú eres el mejor amigo que todos quisiéramos tener. You're those few persons that it's an honor. Do you have a motto or you have a favorite word that the people could keep it after I don't know if you have it, and share it with us, a motto or a word, just to say goodbye to the program?
Well, it's a provocative one. Sometimes I write into books a title of one of my films, the Caspar Hauser film, The Enigma of Caspar Hauser, originally had the title, Every Man for Himself and God Against All.
Excellent. So, muchas gracias, profesor Werner Herzog. Es un verdadero honor platicar con usted, aprender de usted. Lo queremos mucho y le agradecemos eternamente.
A mí también. Saludos a México.
Gracias. Hasta luego. Buenas noches.
Gracias. Buenas noches.
Wow. Señoras y señores, poca gente tan auténticamente profunda que le ha dado un sentido a la vida en cada instante de su existir, produciendo y creando, ha vivido más de una sola vida en esta temporalidad. Ese personaje acaba de estar en el rincón donde usted se encuentre. Hoy con nosotros estuvo Werner Herzog, una persona que será renombrada por la historia del cine y de la humanidad para siempre. Muchas gracias. Quédese aquí en ADN 40. Soy Andrés Roemer. Nos vemos el próximo domingo. Muchas gracias.